Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Victor Raul Poor Bangna Plans. I like using the hashtag Poor Bangna. So I work more in relation to water sanitation and hygiene, and which we normally refer to as WASH. And today I just want to walk us through a few sensitization, or call it education, or even information sharing when it comes to the F diagram. That is, when we want to talk about stopping open defecation, we usually use the F diagram as one of our key tools or strategies in communicating how feces get back into our mouths. So when we talk about the F diagram, the F stands for fecal or fecal, oral transmission of diseases. So fecal or fecal simply stands for the feces, and then the oral stands for the feces getting back to our mouth. So oral, taking back or ingesting back the feces. So when we talk about fecal oral transmission of diseases, we are simply looking at how does the feces we defecate in the open, or the feces we normally defecate, come or get back into our mouths. So we will be looking at the various routes through which the feces get back into our mouth. And when we are talking about the route, we are talking about the 5 Fs. Aside the feces, which is F, we have some 5 Fs, which we normally focus on. Those are the main Fs that we focus on when it comes to the transmission of feces back into our mouth. When we talk about the Fs, we are talking about the filth that normally, that's the land, the rock surfaces, any surface where we grow vegetables, plants, and all those things. When feces get there, it gets back into our mouth if it's not properly contained. We talk about the flies, how flies settle on our feces and bring it back into our food or to us directly. We talk about the fingers, very key, how our fingers get into contact with the feces and we bring it back into our mouths. We talk about the fluids, that is the water bodies, how feces get washed into our water bodies, and then we don't usually treat them properly and we end up ingesting back the feces. And then we talk about the food. Yes, the food, whatever we eat, how does feces get into the food and then get back into our mouths. So I will just start with each one and then explain and let us get the dynamics. Feces can get back into our mouths through flies. When we defecate in the open defecation, we have open defecation happening in a lot in most parts of our country, where people have used to use latrines and are defecating in the open. So you have flies easily having access to the feces, settling on these feces, and you see them in our homes, especially when we are going to eat and you have to be driving them away and all those things to eat. And when these flies settle on infected feces and come to settle on our food and we eat it, then we have the pathogens in it, and then we take it in, ingest it in, and we fall sick. Also, our latrines, people claim they have constructed very wonderful latrines and all that, but one key thing is that it's not just the infrastructure that prevents flies or prevents us from eating our own feces. It also boils down keenly on how we use the various latrines. When we talk about usage of latrine, we are simply talking about how properly we are able to maintain our latrine, we are able to use it, how we are able to keep it clean, how we are able to prevent flies from having access to it. And then when our latrines are spoiling or are getting some cracks or damages, how do we repair them? That is where we talk about the maintenance. So we are talking about the operation and maintenance aspect of these latrines. Then another aspect is our fingers. You realize that when we use anal cleansing materials, when I talk about anal cleansing materials, I'm referring to the things we use to clean after we have gone to toilet, what we use to clean. Some people use paper, some people use tissues, some people use cloth, some people even use sticks, some people use stones. It depends on what people use, but ideally we normally advise that you use the tissue to clean your anal when you go to toilet. So in the process of cleaning it, if you are not able to properly clean, you might have some feces having contact to your hand, and if you don't do proper hand washing, you end up ingesting the same feces. Talk about the filth, that's the water bodies. People nowadays defecate or defecate by the water bodies, or they defecate close to water bodies, and when it rains with the frequent flood and all those things, you have it washing all these fecal matter back into our water bodies. And when we have access to it, or when we fetch it and we don't treat it properly, we end up ingesting these feces. Another one has to do with the filth. Of late, we have seen so many people use sewage. When I say sewage, it's both the feces or the waste from the septic tanks of our houses, that is a mixture of feces, urine, and what have you, that normally stays there for long. And when they collect this, instead of properly disposing it off, it ends up in the fields, where they use it to spray on our crops to serve as manure and all that. And you realize that some of these vegetables, when they are taken from the farm, we hardly do proper cleaning to them before we use that, and we end up ingesting the feces and all that. Even on that, people even use the direct feces to sprinkle on their vegetables, and we eat. And of late, I think recently I read somewhere and even watched a television episode where documentary where they were talking about the fact that our mortuaries now, we have people, the mortuary attendants, not doing proper treatment of the waste from the mortuary, and this ends up in our gutters. And you can bear with me looking at how difficult it is for some people to get water to water their gardens or water their vegetables. They end up resorting to this water from the gutters to water these vegetables, and we end up eating these same vegetables without proper cleanliness or proper disinfecting, or this proper boiling of these vegetables, and we end up eating them and we get infested. So I spoke about the filth, that's the land where we grow our crops and all those things. I spoke about the fluids, that's the water bodies. I spoke about the fingers, our fingers. I spoke about I spoke about the flies also having access to the feces. And we have a barrier. We have a first immediate barrier that can prevent feces from getting to these here, which we refer to as the primary barriers. And this has to do with properly owning and using a latrine. That one will prevent feces from flies from having access to even the feces, or the feces being in the open that are washed onto our water bodies and all those things. And usually we speak about the fact that your latrines should be at least 50 meters away from any water body. So if you're properly owning a latrine and using it, not exposing the squat hole to the open for flies to have access to it, you will be preventing feces from getting back to our mouths. We also talk about proper hand washing. When you have feces on your hands and you practice proper hand hygiene, you will be taking away the pathogens from your hands, and you'll be preventing yourself from eating these feces, which you might end up eating the germs and then fall sick. We also talk about the fact that you need to protect your water bodies and all that. These are just a few of the primary barriers. Then we talk about the fact that what if all these things we're talking about, the feces, the flies, the land, the water bodies, the flies, or even the fingers come into contact with feces, what next do we do? That is where we talk about the secondary barriers, where we talk about the fact that if water is contaminated, you boil it or you practice proper water treatment techniques. When vegetables are have contact with feces, how you properly clean them and disinfect them with salt solution or other solutions that will clean it very well and all that, and of course practicing proper hand hygiene and all that, and then even properly covering your food to prevent flies from having access to them. Then we say all these things when they get back into the food. How do we prevent that? Get the food wholesome to eat. That is by properly boiling our food well, or heating our food to kill all bacteria and pathogens, and then also ensuring that we still practice proper hand hygiene, boiling our water very well, practicing and protecting our water bodies as well, and all that. So all in all, we have several channels through which feces get back into our mouths, but it is honest lies in us to ensure that every individual household around us has and is using a toilet. Please take note, the fact that you have a latrine doesn't protect you. If your neighbor does not have a latrine, you have to ensure that you educate them or entreat them to get a latrine. When you have a latrine and one person around you do not have a latrine, believe me or not, the flies will settle on their feces that they are depositing in the open and get back to your house. You just might be eating someone else's feces. So ensure you have toilets. After that, when you have the toilets, ensure you are properly using and maintaining them. Maintenance is key, sustainability. If you don't maintain them, clean them, repair cracks, repair breakages and all those things, repair the doors and make sure that they are sealed properly, repair the vent pipe, nets and all those things, you end up still eating your own feces because flies will have access to it. Practice proper hand hygiene. I don't need to stress on this much. We all see how hand hygiene was very useful to us during the fight against COVID-19. That was one of the number one thing that helped us to stop or to win the fight against COVID-19, practicing proper hand hygiene. And when your water is contaminated, please always remember to treat them. There are several water treatment methods. Desalting, sieving, filtration, boiling it and all that. Please again, let's make sure that our water is clean for use. And also, if you immediately do not have your latrines set ready, practice dig and bury, so that and dig your holes very deep and bury your feces, so that as you try to get a latrine, you will not be defecating in the open. So these are just a few of the things that I would want to bring to your attention, and in subsequent videos I will be coming to you. This is just my first video that I'm coming to you with. I'll be coming to you with several other videos, and I want you to comment, like, and then share, and also your comments on how to improve this will come in handy. Together we can help save the world. Together we can all be WASH, that's water sanitation and hygiene ambassadors. I am Victor Raul Bangna. I'm from Ego in the Upper West region, and I say thank you, and I say may God bless you, and may you continue to be living the change that we want to see in this world. Thank you, and bye-bye.